President Trump making the rounds once again on TV. It's hilarious to watch this as anytime you need some criticism of President Biden, let's bring out President Trump. Let's get him. Let's get the former Trumpies on television let's get Kayleigh McEnany over here. Let's get let's get Stephen Miller. Let's get anybody who worked in the Trump administration to criticize President Biden during this Afghanistan collapse and withdrawal of this 20 years war. So let's get President Trump. So he made the rounds. He was on, he popped over to Stuart Varney's show the other day on the phone. And this interview, I mean, it's hilarious for a number of reasons, but to listen to the conservative talking point, is that there's three things that you could have done, right? You gotten out of Afghanistan, stayed in Afghanistan, or just not done it, or just stayed there a little bit longer. Or maintain the same level of troops that we had there in perpetuity. And conservatives are saying, yeah, well, it wouldn't have been this messy. It wouldn't have been this messy if Trump were there. The very thing that Trump signed into law, the agreement with the Taliban, was to remove all U.S. soldiers from Afghanistan by the date certain. Biden extended it by 3 months. And even then, with that extension, it was still a mess. And then launched the largest air evacuation in history to get these people out of there. And the people that are staying there basically want to stay there. The 100 or 200 that are left have either some sort of dual citizenship. And he said, anyone who wants to come, you will be welcome. It'll be an open-ended invitation, and you can leave anytime you want, and we will bring you home. And it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. The fact that we lost, service members, civilians died, additional drone strikes, it was horrible. But we're out of there. Hallelujah, we're gone. But if you listen to Trump, he somehow would have done it better, but he couldn't answer these questions. So Stuart Varney asking him the questions like, how would you have done this differently? What did he do wrong? And Trump he couldn't figure out what to say. Total softball interview, and he doesn't know how to respond.
The media is spinning this as a positive. All the headlines say, ending America's longest war. How do you see it?
Well, it should have been a positive.
First of all, what all media headlines says that this is a positive? Are you kidding me? Everywhere I look, all the mainstream media has been criticizing Biden for this. Everywhere, calling it a disaster. Everywhere. Everyone's saying that, and Joe Biden's, his approval ratings are in the toilet now because of Afghanistan. The mainstream media saying, well, this is why we should stay there. Washington Post opinion pages saying that we should stay there. What? Who's saying that this is amazing? I haven't seen that. Have you? Anywhere? I haven't.
Nope.
If you have, let me know. I haven't seen it, but he's like, the media is framing it this way.
The media is spinning this as a positive. All the headlines say, ending America's longest war. How do you see it?
Well, it should have been a positive.
Exactly. What is he reading? Like, is he going down rabbit hole third-party blog sites?
I haven't seen it anywhere. All the media is spinning it. Are you kidding me? It's been wall-to-wall coverage on CNN. Everyone's been criticizing it. All over Fox, everyone's been criticizing it. People are calling for his impeachment. I don't understand.
And it was a massive negative by anybody that has a brain and that reads 95% of even the media that you talk about. It's terrible. The platter was set. We're all set to have a victory in terms of getting out with.
Oh, yeah. So the platter was set. So we negotiated this. It was all set. It was all set to get out with a victory. A victory? What's a victory? Are you kidding me? What's the victory you're talking about? Just to get out is okay.
Dignity, and you could even say with victory. And
you could say it. No one else could say it. What's the victory?
Right. What was the objective, first of all? Like, we don't know what the objective is because you can only know if there's victory if you know what the objective was.
Right. And we know from the Afghanistan papers that there was no objective.
And it was all lined up. The Taliban was petrified of us. They were.
Oh, yeah. It was all lined. They were petrified of us.
They were just staying away, and all he had to do is take what we did and finish it up and take all the equipment out. I actually said every nail, every screw, I want everything out. And the people out, obviously, you start with the people.
So just out of curiosity then, President Trump, like if that's really what you wanted, then why didn't you do that? Because you were already withdrawing. And you were leaving equipment behind. So if you said that, bring every screw home.
And you know what? I don't know this for sure, but imagine if there would have been a peaceful exit from Afghanistan, and he would have done it that way, and let's say there wasn't the chaos there is now or whatever that they're spinning, that could have got him reelected.
Right. I supported the fact of getting the heck out of there. Republicans didn't know what to do with him when he was running for president because he was up there on the stage pointing right at Jeb Bush and saying, your brother got us into one of the most worst wars in American history. And everyone cheered. And Republicans were like, wait a second, the war hawks, the warmongers in the Republican Party were like, uh-oh, what's going on here?
People and then the equipment, and then you blow up what you want to blow up, and you keep maybe Bagram, because we were planning on keeping Bagram because of its relationship, its location.
But that's total garbage. Because in your agreement with the Taliban, all U.S. troops had to leave Afghanistan. Gone. No base holding at all. So this is a total lie.
To China. This is a $10 billion base that they built over years, and it's there. It's built, and it's near. It's in a perfect territory for us to have as an outpost. And
President
what
Biden
they've done
blames
is
you.
so terrible. And many people are there. Many people are left behind. It's not 100 people. You'll find out it's many hundreds of people and others. And to leave that military, I looked at your list yesterday. I looked at it tonight again, and I looked at it. The list is growing on the amount of machine guns and planes and helicopters, of Apaches, and they're the finest you can get. And they were flying them yesterday. They weren't disabled. They were flying them yesterday and celebrating with people hanging off. I don't know if that was if they were friends hanging off or they were torturing people. But there were.
Well, I don't really pay attention to facts, so I don't know. People tell me, I don't know. People say I love how he would say that all the time. That's his thing. Like, I don't know. People say that they had people hanging off the helicopter and they were torturing them. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's what people say. I don't know.
People hanging off Apaches yesterday. To
Mr.
leave that
President,
equipment, billions and billions of equipment behind is insane.
Well, he really wants him to know Biden
blames you.
Well, actually, interestingly, he doesn't. Because if you look at what he said not one soldier was killed since I signed the deal. We signed a deal that was conditions-based. Everything was conditioned. And by the way, they didn't fulfill some of those conditions, and we bombed the hell out of them. And they called and said, okay, we'll do this. And they were doing everything for us. They would have taken a look at when they started moving and taking over Afghanistan.
So at the beginning, he says they liked us. They were staying away from us. And then he just contradicts himself and says they weren't living up to their end of the bargain, so we bombed the hell out of them. Literally at the beginning of the interview, he says the exact opposite of what he's saying right now.
They were scared of us. They were terrified.
Everything was going great. It was on a platter. They were staying away from us. They were fine with us. They were happy with us. Then a minute later, he says they weren't doing what we said they were going to do, and so we bombed the hell out of them. They liked us. We had a good relationship. I called Abdul. I think he says in this interview, I called Abdul, the head of the Taliban, and we had a good conversation.
It was after I was gone. So Biden made a statement 3 days ago. He said, from the day that agreement was signed, we lost no soldiers. And that was part of the deal. No soldiers. No Americans are to be injured, shot at, killed. No Americans and no soldiers. And you know what? That's what happened. And he said it. And I heard it.
So you mean to tell me that it would have been somehow different with your leadership? Like these Americans, there was a suicide bomber that ran into and killed these people? Like that would have been different under you? That's somehow going to change?
His people went crazy. He said it because I don't think he knew what he was saying. I was waiting for something else to come after that, like whatever he could think of. So actually... no, he didn't. He actually said something that was true. He said no people were killed, no Americans were killed, which is true whatsoever since the signing of that agreement. And that was only one aspect of it. we would have left with victory. We would have left with $83 billion worth of equipment.
By the way, that number has been debunked. It's not $83 billion. It's about a third of that. I mean, it's still a lot of bread. It's still a lot of tanks. It's still a lot of machinery, but it's not $83 billion.
I think what they're saying, it's $83 billion with the equipment and all the money they spend in training combined. That's where I got the total. I don't know what the actual equipment budget was.
Yeah.
Inconceivable. That equipment is going to be coming at us for many years.
Why is it going to be coming at us if we're not there?
Well, because there's the narrative now that they have our equipment, they're going to be able to reach the United States.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're going to fly a helicopter.
A Black Hawk.
They're going to fly a Black Hawk helicopter from Afghanistan to the United States. Okay.
I do have a question, though. Did coronavirus just bypass Kabul airport? Like, there are no masks, no, like, are they just like?
Well, maybe it's like Africa, where there's zero reporting of cases. So when you look at maps of where coronavirus cases are, like Africa, the continent of Africa, like it's all like there's no red and anything because there's no reporting of it. Like, so anyone has any idea what's going on in these regions? Because you think the Taliban are reporting accurate COVID numbers? Anyway, so he goes on. This is my favorite part of the interview.
Very importantly, we have been humiliated as a major player. Our allies aren't going to look at us the same. You know, our allies took advantage of us for years, and I let people know it, and I let them know it. And they started paying in NATO, where they really took advantage of us. Trading partners took tremendous advantage. The European nation. European Union was worse. The European Union was as bad as China, or almost as bad as China, in terms of us with trade. And yet we protected them militarily with NATO, which is largely the same group of nations. I will say this. They have lost tremendous respect for the United States of America. And when
it's the exact opposite. I mean, that's a total lie. The trust in America has gone up dramatically since Trump has left.
I was president, they had unbelievable respect for us.
Because if they didn't, I tweeted them hard.
So literally says that with a straight face.
But they have lost tremendous respect for our country. Tremendous. Beyond anything imaginable.
Beyond anything imaginable. Unbelievable. So what would you have done differently, Mr. President? Well, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. There's nothing I would have done. He basically said, there's nothing I would have done differently. I can't answer that question. I don't know. He doesn't have an answer for it.
Well, you know, do you find it funny that, like, every time there's a transition of power, you have these presidents that do these things, and these presidents that are running against them on the campaign trail will say all this stuff they're going to undo and all this stuff they're going to do. Then they get in and they just expand it. Like Obama, right. For instance. George Bush started the drone program, all right? And then, like, we thought Obama was the peace candidate, right? He was coming in. He was the peace candidate. We voted for him. He was no more war, all the stuff, change. And then he took everything that Bush started, the drone program, increased it by 400%, and expanded on it, and expanded a lot of Bush policies. Didn't change the Patriot Act or anything like that. When it came time for that was passed again. So they know exactly what they're doing. They talk a big game to get into office, and then all these people want the same exact outcome. So they end up doing the exact same thing.
It's all part of one corporate party. And I think that's maybe the great canard in this whole thing. There are the biggest fallacies that these parties are any different, frankly. I mean, they're all the same.
Yeah.
And it just perpetuates this corporatocracy. That's what our country is run on. It's run on money. It's run on Wall Street. It's run on the influence of these big companies. And as long as you are taking care of those companies, that's how you remain in power in Washington. That's it. Oh, President Trump.
Real women vote for Trump. We don't need no liberal chump.
Frederick Lesueur says, what about the 13 kids that were killed last week? Don't they count as Americans? Yeah, they count. Of course. Trump is a carny. He's a carny POS is what Frederick says. Yeah. He says these things with a straight face. And, you know, again, what's the future of the Republican Party right now? You know, you have Pat Toomey, who is retiring Republican from Pennsylvania, said it's ridiculous to think that we would put Trump on the ticket in 2024.
I can tell you the future of both parties. Establishment.
It's going to be the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, we want Bernie, we want others. It's not going to happen.
We just all we really want in this country is just somebody that we can like. We hated Trump because of his tweets or anything. We didn't pay attention to policies. Policies pretty much stay the same. We get Biden. You know, he's easier to look at. He doesn't tweet out loud. He kind of stays behind the scenes and all this other stuff. So, you know, but he's same policies, same stuff. Don't help the people, help the donors. So it doesn't matter. We just want somebody that we think we like.
Thanks for subscribing to the channel. You can also become a channel member by going to morninginvest.com/join, where you can stick it to the mainstream media and support independent journalism. We're able to bring you the stories that you won't see on any of the major billionaire-backed networks. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time, everyone.